So interval notation, if you didn't figure it out, interval notation is just like a number line. So we're going to start with a number line. Now, some students overcomplicate things, so I would just keep it simple. Let's say I have -5 and 7. And this one is open, which means I do not include 5, shading, and then I have a closed dot at 7. The answer in interval notation would be parentheses -5, 7, bracket. Now, what is wrong with this? Let's say someone on the test gives me this. What is wrong with the blue one?
It doesn't include the 7, but doesn't include the -5.
Wrong. What else is wrong with it? Yeah.
It's in the wrong order.
Okay, great. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay. So,
how do you know it's in the wrong order?
So it can't be. The left side is always going to go minus, so it's going to be negative on the left side as always, while going to the right side will be positive.
Exactly. I mean, I just said this is a number line, right? On a number line, which comes first, 7 or -5? So the blue answer is completely wrong. You would not get any partial credit, okay? Now let's say I wanted to enlarge it a little bit. So I'm going to go to 10, and I'm going to draw an arrow, and I want to shade. So I'm going to go close dot, shade forever, okay? The way you do this in mathematics, you include the union symbol, the U. We're going to join two things, union, and it would be bracket 10 parentheses infinity bracket, or is it parentheses, or it doesn't really matter?
Parentheses.
Why is it parentheses? Okay.
It's always the infinity is always parentheses.
That's absolutely true, but does anybody know why it's parentheses? Yeah.
Infinity goes on and on and on forever, so
you can't reach it. Very good. So parentheses, we're never going to reach that infinity. And then what would it be in Algebra 1? In Algebra 1, you would have written it this way. All three of these mean the same thing. Okay? However, we are transitioning out of Algebra 1 and moving on to Algebra 2. Algebra 2 uses interval notation, and pre-calculus and calculus use interval notation, okay? So we're going to move away from the inequality symbols. How are you doing so far? Making sense? Okay. Let's quickly go to your homework and see if we can do some homework questions. That's not your homework. So again, all the rules are right here on S6 if you walked in late. Going to do 6 through 10. 6 through 10 should literally take you 2 minutes. They want you to sketch the number line and write the inequality. Write it how you would in Algebra 1, okay? As you work on it, I'm going to slowly start catching up. And this is what I was saying earlier. Some people overcomplicate this. All I need is -8 because that is important, right? To negative infinity. So the answer would be either a closed dot or a bracket, shading, and an enlarged arrow. You really don't need to put 0, -1, and -2. All that is now clutter. It doesn't play a role, okay? So I would encourage you just to write the important information. And over here, the answer is x is less than or equal to -8. That's the way you would have written it in Algebra 1. I'm going to do number 7 a different way, just to give you variations. Let's say you work with a tutor, or you go see a teacher at lunch and they explain it slightly different. I just want to make sure we're covering the same thing, okay? Would you agree this is the shading for number 7? Did I get that right? So another teacher might explain it this way. They might put 5 here, and they'll put a bracket, shade, arrow. Some teachers use a bracket to talk about a closed dot. Some people use a closed dot. I couldn't care less. They're both the same thing, okay? And then the answer is x is greater than or equal to 5. And then the last 3 I'm just going to do pretty quickly. -2. So that's what I got for 6 through 10. Yes? Number 8 is open because of the parentheses. Parentheses always means open dot. And number 10 has a bracket, and bracket always means closed dot. You came in a little bit late. Everything is on S6. So make sure and look at S6 when you have a chance. Okay, how we do? Is this part of the homework going to be doable? Okay, let's move on to the second part. Go ahead and look at this drawing here on S5. Try and use a highlighter. And I'm going to pause the video for a second to pass something out. We're going to use the keyword increasing. Decreasing and constant, but we'll do one at a time. Right now we're just going to focus on increasing. And just like you read in a textbook or your novels, you're going to read from left to right. So I wouldn't highlight this part. From left to right, what is happening? Is it getting larger or smaller? Is it falling or rising? Falling. So this is not the answer, okay? But right around here, I'm going to switch to a new color. I'll switch to green. From here, see how it's going up from left to right? That's called increasing. So I'm going to put right here increasing. And the answer is always going to be an interval notation. So let's come to some sort of agreement. What kind of x value, so I'm going to draw, what kind of x value do you think we have here? Do you think that's negative 1.5? Do you think that's negative what? What x value would you give that? Negative 1.5? Okay, let's agree. So that's going to be negative 1.5. And what x value would you give this guy? 0.5? Okay. So I'm going to go up here. Under increasing, it's going to be increasing from negative 1.5 to 0.5. Union. I'm telling you, there's another section where it's increasing. Now, one thing I do want to stress, again, this is pretend you're a college student. Make sure and take good notes. Increasing, decreasing, and constant must always get parentheses, never brackets. So add that to your notes right now. Increasing, decreasing, and constants must always get parentheses, never brackets. Let's move on. Where else is it increasing? So you have 36. No, that's too much time. Amir, shut it. Oh, sorry, I can't record that. Does anyone know how to edit? No. You guys have 15 seconds to predict where else it's increasing. Go. That's not even the worst thing I've said. Trust me. Oh my god. I have the fatty story. I have the. Oh my gosh.
Isn't it,
Huh?
isn't it still recording? Someone.
No, they don't know what that is.
Okay.
Pause the recording and tell us the story. Can you not
Probably not.
Wait, why are you even recording it? Why don't you just say it again? During class tomorrow.
I'll use the same color. It is also increasing from here to here. So 1, because right here it's the number 1. Oops, number 1. And right here, most people probably picked 2.5. 2.5. So that's the answer for increasing. It's increasing in the green zone. Let's move on to decreasing. Now, one thing you're not aware of, do you think this graph literally just stops right here?
No.
No. So go ahead and put an arrow there. And same thing on the right side, put an arrow. That's just going to remind you, the person who's writing this up, it goes on forever, okay? And when things go on forever, typically what's your answer? Some sort of infinity. Okay, so I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use blue. From left to right, it is falling, so all of this is decreasing. So the first part of the answer is negative infinity to negative 1.5 union. This time you have 30 seconds to predict the rest of the answer, okay? Try and identify the other sections where it's decreasing. And I'll use the same color to be consistent. It's falling here, and it's falling here. So the answer was 0.5 to 1 union. And since I'm out of room, I'll just move on here. 2.5 to infinity. And again, all the answers should have parentheses, okay? Constant. Is there ever a time where the graph goes flat? So does it ever flatten out? So this, we're just going to put none. For this particular drawing, we don't have any location where it's flat. Like a line, you know? How do we do it? Did that part make sense? Notice all the answers are what? What are these numbers? Are they x values or y values? They're x values. Okay, all your answers are going to be x values for tonight's homework. Go ahead and take out tonight's homework. Here's a worksheet that looks like this. Let's try number 2. Number 2, it's not a typo, it's just not clear. So I'm going to stress this part. This drawing, what is this open, closed circle? What's going on there? So on your copy, see if you can do this somehow. Really stress, they're talking about an open circle, okay? That's definitely a closed dot.
Okay.
And then if you have to count negative 1, 2. I'll use a different color. This is negative 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5 is over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The question is asking for identify where it's increasing. We're going to abbreviate. Identify where it's decreasing. And you're going to write this down here, by the way. Okay? Decreasing, constant, And let's see if it's asking for anything else. Let's do this. Look at the directions. State if the function is continuous. If there is a discontinuity, identify the type. Go ahead and cross off letter A. We're not going to do letter A. So just cross off letter A. You're going to do part B for all these homework problems, okay? The word continuous, discontinuous, that's more of a calculus topic. And we'll eventually get there, but we don't need it right now, okay? Okay, you guys have 1 minute to predict all the answers. Yes, so if you want to stress the arrows, I would do that. If it does not have an arrow, it does stop, okay? So you have 30 seconds starting now. Okay, so it's increasing in this zone. So that was 4 to infinity because it has an arrow. Remember, it's always going to have parentheses, so it doesn't matter if there was an open or closed dot. It's decreasing right here. -5 to -2. In calculus, you'll learn more information. You can put a bracket. For right now, let's keep it really simple. And just put parentheses, or yeah, parentheses. And constant, the answer was, forgot. -2 to 4. I don't care. How are we doing? Is this part doable? Not bad, right? Let's see if we can find a harder one on the homework. So I need your help. Quickly scan all these drawings. Try and identify the one that looks like the hardest one, and we'll work it out together. Do you think it's number 6, number 5? Do you think it's 12, 11? Number 6? Okay, let's do it. So you're going to get a chance to predict the answer, and we'll see how you do. 1 minute. Go ahead and check your answers, see how you guys did. Any questions on increasing, decreasing, or constant? Yeah. The 3? I think it came from here. So this is the number 1, 2, 3. So see how at 3, okay, we're going to move on to, this is not going to be on tonight's homework. It's called domain and range. This is a good example to do this, okay? Domain and range is a very big topic, and as you move levels, so right now you're in Algebra 2, in pre-calculus it gets a little bit harder, in calculus it gets harder. So getting a good understanding now is very important, okay? Domain are x values, so we're going to write down x's, and range are y's. One way of asking about domain is what x's do you see here, okay? Do we have all the x's in the world? Do we have -infinity to infinity, or do we only have a certain set of x's? So here's the way I explain it, and let me know if this makes any sense. I'm going to make this a little bit larger, and I'm going to go to blip. You don't have to draw this part, okay? Imagine this is a steel plate, and this is a steel plate. And I'm going to squeeze this graph like this. And it's all going to get squeezed on the x-axis. But the graph can't stretch. It's not like a rubber band or something gushy where it like expands. It'll just get compressed on the x-axis, okay? So bear with me. If I were to squeeze and keep doing that, what would it look like? So let's see if we can do it together. Would you agree this dot would get squeezed right here? Right? All these points right here in red are going to get squeezed here. It's open. This guy is definitely open, but this guy is going to close it. So it's closed. All these points are going to get put here. And does it just stop at the arrow, or does it go on forever? It goes on forever. So I'm going to clean it up a little, and I'll do this in red, okay? Here's the answer. If I were to squeeze this onto the x-axis, so if I were to compress it, will I eventually get the red? What's the red in interval notation? Go ahead and do that right now. And the answer is negative infinity to the number 1, 2, 3. And does the 3 get a parentheses or bracket? Bracket. The mean and range, some of them will have parentheses, some will have brackets. It's not increase and decrease in a constant, okay? Does that make sense to you guys or no? What's up?
Does it go all of the graph?
Every graph, yes. Well, we're going to do the same thing. So now let's do the range. The range is going to get squeezed onto the y-axis. So I'm going to move my metal plates here. And I'm going to get rid of this. And you're going to get a chance to predict this, okay? What happens when you squeeze it onto the y-axis? Try and give me some sort of picture that I just had, you know. You can use a different color and try and predict this answer. Okay, here we go. This point right here in red is going to get pushed onto the y-axis. All these points are going to go right here. Even though this point is open, would you agree this point closes it? Do you think this is the answer? Do you think this is the answer right here? No, right? Does this arrow just mean it stops here? No, it keeps going, right? And going and going. So all these would get pushed over here. So the answer is from negative 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 4 is the smallest value. And that gets a bracket all the way to infinity. And one thing you do want to add in your notes, this is the only time we use y values. Everything else, I'll highlight it. These were x values, x values, x values, x values. Range is the only time we use y values. So as I was looking at your faces, some of you guys are confused. You guys did not get that one, so we're going to practice that again. What's up?
Whatever the highest value is what you use for the second.
Yeah, it's still like a number line. The smallest number has to come first. The larger value has to come next, just like a number line.
And the reason it wasn't just the one point is because it was more.
Yes, it kept growing, right. So if you actually keep drawing it, you'll see that all these dots get pushed here. Okay, great question. Let's try another one on the homework. Let's try number 5. I want you to answer these 5 questions. Increasing, decreasing, constant, domain, and range. I'll pause the video.
Aren't you still recording?
No, I just checked. Okay, here we go.
Oh, okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's increasing from negative infinity to negative 4. Union 5 to infinity. Decreasing. It's decreasing from negative 4 to 5. Constant. This one doesn't have any. The domain. If I were to squish this graph onto the x-axis, hopefully you got, I'll do this in blue. You would get this blue drawing. So that blue drawing is negative infinity to 5, union 5 to infinity. Okay, your homework is going to be online. It's part of the bookwork and part of this worksheet, okay?
Dang it.
You don't have to do domain and range for tonight's homework, okay? What's up? Okay, and the range is going to be, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. -7 to infinity.